This is Andy Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. I'm delighted to be joined by unbeaten middleweight prospect Chris Ousley over Zoom. Chris, first and foremost, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, like just hanging out, just in the gym right now. So, I have to get away a little bit.
It's good. Obviously, first and foremost, it's good to hear you're doing well. Ticking over in the gym as you mentioned. But before we come on to kind of the fighting talk, you've got some big news which has just come out recently. Obviously, teaming up with 258 Management, obviously looked after there by Anthony Joshua. Talk to me about the deal and how it all came about.
It all came about maybe about 3 to 4 months ago. I saw on social media, like I saw AJ kept on tagging him, going back and forth, and I reached out and I was like, hey, I reached out and I spoke with Will. Someone sent me in the direction of Will, and Will took it from there, and like they did their research, and then I was introduced to Will and Binga, and in 4 months later, I'm here. I'm signed with those guys. So, like I can't thank them enough for giving me the opportunity and putting me in a position to being able to pursue my career further.
They're building obviously a great stable of fighters at 258 Management now. You're the latest name added to that list. What is it in particular about them that made you decide to sign a deal with them?
To be honest with you, what was particular about them is like I'm like me being honest, not just saying this. Like they have the biggest star in boxing inside and outside of the ring. So I wanted to be a part of it. I know they're building something special, so I really wanted to be a part of it.
Obviously, you mentioned there they've got one of the biggest names in the sport in Anthony Joshua underneath that management company. I assume that's kind of one of your goals to kind of box on the same card as him.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. Hopefully in the near future, maybe in the next few fights, that I get on the same card as him, so I can get a bunch of those UK fans over there.
Chris, what do you make of the UK fans? Obviously, it's quite interesting to always ask from somebody from the other side of the ocean to see what their thoughts are on a different fan base.
I really like the UK fans. Actually, I have a pretty big following here in the US, and I like on social media and everything like that. Like I get a lot of fans from the UK that message me even before the AJ and 258 deal. I get a lot of fans from the UK messaging me, saying like they can't wait to see me fight in the UK. So I mean, to be honest with you, I love the fans, like the sweet Caroline, like that. I can't wait till I'm in the stadium and that goes off. Like it'll be insane.
Listen, Chris, obviously, unfortunately, in these current circumstances, you, the same as many people, can't wait for that moment when we can all hear those famous words once again. But as this is your first time with us at Boxing Social, I want to kind of go through your career and take me back to kind of your route into the sport. How did you first get involved in boxing, Chris?
To be honest with you, my first time stepping in a boxing gym was about 7 years ago. I was a college athlete, a Division I football player. So it was, I think the fight was, if I'm not mistaken, it was Canelo versus Floyd when I had, me and my wife decided to go to Vegas, and I had no idea about the fight game then. And I came home and I was like, yeah, I think I want to pick up boxing. And I picked up boxing, and my wife said, if you're gonna do it, you gotta go you gotta go all in. And before you know it, I had my amateur boxing license, and I would have my first amateur fight within what was that? I think maybe 6 to 7 weeks of actually walking to a boxing gym.
We know of quite a few fighters who have got some type of an American football background or another sport in general background who take the choice to move over to boxing. In your case, what was it that made you want to leave the American football side to move and focus on your boxing more?
To be honest with you, I looked at it as in a sense that like I can't make it big in football. Like I knew my life had a meaning, but I knew like I'm a realistic person. Like I knew like I can't make it big in football, so I need to find something else that I can do better, that I can excel in.
With boxing, talking about kind of your early days, then how did you find the initial adjustment? And was it difficult moving from obviously that football to the boxing kind of background and the training methods, which I imagine were very different?
Absolutely. The training methods, because I was actually during football, I was actually about 220. And so, yeah, so right now I fight at 154 pounds. So, the transition was just a little bit different about the weight cutting and things like that. But I was always an athlete. So, you know, like I was always able to adjust and adjust to whatever I had to.
I was going to say we know that. Well, you currently fight at middleweight, but you seem quite a monster of a weight. You seem huge for the weight. Do you feel that yourself?
Oh, absolutely. Like, to be honest with you right now, honestly, I fight at 154 pounds. So, super welterweight. So, like, I'm pretty big. I'm about 6'1". Like, and I'm about 6'1". I walk around probably about 180, 185. So, like, I'm a pretty big 154 pounder. So, like, I'm pretty long and everything. My limbs are long and all that. So, I'm pretty big at that weight. Just another Jared Hurd, almost. Yeah.
How long do you see yourself kind of sticking at 154 then? I know that I've read things about the middleweight division and regarding yourself potential to move, but again, in your own eyes, do you have kind of a time frame?
To be honest with you, I might stick at 54 until I'm definitely going to campaign at 54 until I at least get a title, and then like maybe down the line I'll move up to 160 because honestly I could fight at 154 or 160, even 168. I don't think it'd be an issue for me either.
Just obviously, we could comfortably carry on with this route and continue to your professional background, but just to go back to your amateur days, talk to me about kind of your achievements and your highest accolades throughout your amateur days.
My amateur days, like within 18, like let's say, remember I told you that I had my first fight within 6 weeks of being of ever walking to a boxing gym, and with 18 months, I had already won and became being able to qualify for the U.S. Olympic trials in 2016. So like within 18 months of ever putting on gloves and doing anything, like I literally won at the national championship. It became and registered to be able to be in 2016 Olympic trials. So like like you get guys who's been working on that dream their entire life, and I came and did it within 18 months. Just to be honest with you, it was just a little bit of hard work. Like what my thing was that like, yeah, these guys can fight. They got the skill because they've been doing it their entire life, but I got to be in better shape than them. I got to be in dog shape, and that's what really made me excel.
Does it give you confidence knowing that because you took up the sport not so long ago, really? You said it's only 7 years ago you took the sport up, but you've been able to kind of progress at a fast rate that you can go on to achieve your goals and your highest ambitions. Does it give you confidence knowing that because you've adapted so well and you've achieved so much in such a short amount of time? I got there in the end, Chris. You can go on to achieve your dreams.
Oh, 100%. Like, who do you know? Who do you know that's really been in the game as short a period as I have? Signed with one of the best promoters in the world, Golden Boy Promotions, Oscar De La Hoya. Signed with the heavyweight champion, not just any champion, the heavyweight champion, and working with those guys, Will Binga, Freddie Cunningham, like all those guys. Like, and also I have the best team. Like I have Manny Robles and those guys. So, I mean, like me being in the sport for such a short time and accomplish all of these accolades, I think that puts me in a perfect position and gives me the utmost confidence.
Now, once again, just one thing I want to touch on with your amateur career. I've looked into it, and I actually remember reading about this a couple of years ago when you was on your Olympic trials. Um, you was involved in a fight where actually had your opponent had a head cut, and unfortunately for yourself, the fight was stopped, but he won on the scorecards. Just kind of reflecting on that, how difficult a time was that?
To like reflecting on that, like I mean, if you notice it, I think me personally, like me for my personal position, I think that the USA Box Commission, like it was a scramble at the time when they first did the no headgear, and I think that they didn't know the right call to make. Like if your opponent gets cut, but the other guy wins on scorecard, but he still can't compete in the next fight. So it was kind of like a shot in the dark. I think that they did. They didn't know, what the outcome will actually be, how this can affect the other fighter, seeing that I mean, I didn't work my entire life, but I did work my ass off leading up to that fight, like leading up to that tournament. So, yeah, I kind of reflect on it, but, like the past is the past, like I felt maybe I shouldn't have started slow, like it happened, like it's over with, like I guess next time I know that if that ever happens again to me, I won't start slow, and that's what I kind of built off of. Not starting slow because you don't want to be down when you don't want to be down on the scorecards.
See, it's surprising to hear that because usually when people talk about amateur days and the amateur system currently, it is very much so. And if you watch it yourself, as I'm sure you still do, it's a very much more fast-paced environment than what we see with the professional ranks. Simply because there are fewer rounds, so you need to go straight in there and try to impress the judges to make sure that it does lead to your favour when you get the result at the end. What kind of do you make of that, and especially knowing that in that fight in your own mind you was a bit slower to start?
I just like in my amateur career, I've stopped a lot of guys leading up to my amateur career. So like like maybe I feel like I should have put the pressure on a little bit more. Like the amateur system is an amateur system. They teaching guys to be like, if you want to fight on that level, they're teaching guys to be dominant in the pro game. So I feel like like you have to go through that phase in your life to you have to go through that phase in your life as an amateur so you can learn how to be a good pro. So I don't mind it at all.
Just talk to me as well then now, Chris, about your kind of your transition period between the amateur to the professional style. How did you find it?
My transition from the amateur to professional was honestly, it was pretty simple. In Chicago, when I came home, like I have a pretty big fan base because it's my hometown. And, like the local promoters were calling me nonstop and asking me, "Am I able to fight on one of their cards and can I sell tickets?" And I did that pretty well. Like each fight we had coming out, we was getting rid of maybe 200 to 300 tickets per fight. So and that was like me starting off as a pro. So like me doing that, like the start off was pretty hard, but like once I reached about 7-0, reached more fights, like that's when, I had the big promoters, like starting to wonder, like, hey, who is this guy who's building this huge fan base up, making all this noise in Chicago?
Just moving forwards, and you mentioned obviously signing with Oscar De La Hoya, Golden Boy. What was that experience like, and what was it like when you met Oscar for the first time?
To be honest with you, it was pretty cool, and at the same time when I met Oscar, it was kind of surreal because like this is someone that you see on the television all the time, like, and I mean I have a lot of celebrity friends, a lot of athletes that are playing at a high level in the NFL, and but it was just kind of like surreal because like if you want to be if you want to be at the top, like this is a guy that you need to be associated with. Or you can look at a guy like Eddie Hearn, Bob Aaron, like, these are the three big top guys that you need to be associated with. And for me to even have a conversation with him or Robert Diaz it was awesome.
Was you slightly starstruck at all when you met Oscar for the first time, or maybe even when you spoke to Anthony Joshua for the first time?
To be honest with you, no. I wasn't starstruck. I wasn't starstruck. I was more like it was like this is my moment, like it was my moment, so that was pretty cool.
Talking about kind of your upcoming plans, then, Chris. How do you what has been laid out for you? What has 258 management alongside Oscar kind of said to you with regards to the coming months and year ahead?
With regard to the coming months, like for sure next year I'll get about 4 to 5 fights in. Like the situation is pretty rocky right now just due to the COVID. Like so it's a lot of shows that's going on and it's a lot of shows that's getting canceled. Like right before the COVID hit, like I was set to go under the Virgil Ortiz on the card in LA at the LA Forum, but the COVID happened and they canceled the card. So right now I'll definitely get one fight in before the year's out. Hopefully two, if we can squeeze two in. But next year for sure I'll be in the ring a lot, maybe 4 to 5 times.
How frustrating a period have you found this past 7, 8 months, Chris? Obviously, with the pandemic and all the shows being cancelled, how has it impacted you personally, especially training wise?
Personally, training wise, like the gym was open for me the entire time, like during the pandemic. So like honestly, like I'm in like full on fight ready shape. Like I probably need about 4 weeks to sharpen up, get some real sharp sparring. But like like the gym was open for me during the pandemic, so I've been in the gym nonstop. I know it wasn't open for a lot of people, but you know, I have my ways, you know, special people that can get me in the gym when I needed to be in the gym.
Talk about your route towards titles. Then, when do you anticipate that you'll be able to challenge for your first title?
I think by mid next year I'll be able to challenge for my first title. I think by mid next year or at least by the end of next year, for sure.
I can gather from speaking to you, because you've obviously got those lofty ambitions to go on to challenge, if not at least, if not win, sorry, a world title. What do you make of the world scene at 154 pounds?
What I make at the world scene, 154 pounds. I mean, you look at a guy like you look at the champion right now, which is Charlo, and you look at a guy. I think Golden Boy has a guy, but I'm not. I'm drawing a blank on his name. But it's been a real rocky situation with the 154 pound. Like they had Gabriel Rozier, they had J Rock, then J Rock took the belts from her, and like so it's really going back and forth. And you look at one of my sparring partners out of Chicago, which is Nate Gallimore. He knocked out Gabriel Rozier, you know. So it's like it's real rocky, you know. It's a lot of tough guys. It's like, but I think that it's anybody's fight at 154 pounds. Like as long as you come ready, and as long as you come prepared mentally and physically, it's anybody's fight.
That's something I was about to ask you. I know that you won't necessarily be looking at it for this immediate future, but just moving kind of forwards and looking at the world scene, because it has been so open over this past, say, year and a half, is it something you take confidence from, that it's a chance for you to put your own kind of mark on the division?
Oh, absolutely. I think that I'll absolutely put my mark on the division, like either beating somebody in the top 10 or whatever. But I think I will put my mark on the division in 2021 for sure.
Chris, moving forwards, obviously one thing I haven't kind of asked you about, what fighters in particular do you like to keep your eye on?
The fight that I would like to make to keep my eye on, at 154 pounds, I would like to keep my eye on maybe even fighting Gabriel Rozier. I think that I got what it takes to beat him. He was a previous champion, and like after him, I'll probably take on anywhere from J Rock, Hurd, or Charlo, one of those guys. But I definitely would. I definitely think I got what it takes to beat Gabriel Rozier right away off bat.
Chris, my final, well, not a final, but kind of just moving on. We mentioned you've teamed up with Anthony Joshua now. Um, Talk to me about kind of your first conversation with AJ. What was it like?
It was actually pretty subtle. I wasn't expecting it. Like you said, I wasn't starstruck, but I knew it was my moment to shine, you know. So I had to do whatever I had to do to make myself look appropriate to shine, so they can be like they want to work with me, because I know as big as they are, they got a lot of fighters who reach out and who talk to them, you know. So I knew that it was my moment, and I needed to make every bit of it.
What's AJ like kind of away from a boxing ring? We all see what he's like when as a fighter, and he's obviously a unified world heavyweight champion. But what's he like as a person away from the ring?
Oh man, like from what I've seen and what I've taken, like he's a very humble, down to earth person. Like, you know, like everybody looks at him like, oh, he's a heavyweight champion of the world, you know, like. But I look at him as in like he's just a humble and down to earth person. Like he really is. He truly is.
Now, I know I could kind of gather your answer to this, but obviously around the world, but certainly here in the UK, one fight everybody would love to see is that undisputed fight between AJ and Tyson Fury, provided they both do meet next year. Chris, just let's say that fight does go ahead. What are your thoughts on it next year?
Oh man, I mean, of course I'm going like even before I was with the home team, I'm still going to go with the home team. Like, I mean, I think that AJ takes it. I think AJ takes it. AJ's the more athlete. I think that he's the better overall fighter, and I definitely think he takes that fight.
Chris, just on it all, what did you make recently? Obviously, the Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury trilogy fight not happening now. What did you make of that news?
Uh, me being 100%. I believe that Deontay Wilder didn't want to take that Tyson Fury fight. I think Tyson Fury beat. I think he beat Wilder mentally and physically. Like he beat him down mentally and physically, and like you get a fighter like Wilder. who's been dominating the sport and dominating everyone's that he stepped in the ring with. But then when somebody actually stepped up to him and fought back, like, I think he broke mentally and physically that fight.
Well, Chris, so we'll leave it there now. We'll leave you to where you either are going into the gym now, or you're off your way off on your way home from the gym. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, but I'll leave a final word to yourself for everybody who will tune in to watch our interview, for everybody who's going to watch the remainder of your career. What message would you like to send to them?
Just know that I'm coming. Be ready for 154 pounds.
Chris Ousley, it's been a pleasure to speak to you for the first time. I'm positive, and I'm sure it will not be the last. Best of luck with obviously the coming months, the years ahead, and thank you for speaking to Boxing Social.
All right, thank you and appreciate your help.